I'm talking to all the analysts and the pundits and the reporters and everybody else in between out there. You don't get to dictate for the paying audience what they like and what they dislike. I could make the argument that the fact that this stuff has been politicized, because it clearly has been, and people are forced to take sides, is something that's working to the benefit of the WNBA, because we're talking about the WNBA more than we ever have.
That's a good point. We are talking about the league more than we ever have. Is this a case of all publicity is good publicity?
Welcome back to WNBA Nova. WNBA fans, a shocking new claim is creating major buzz after Stephen A. Smith revealed what he says could be a hidden plot involving the WNBA, the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark, and Sophie Cunningham. So, what exactly did Stephen A. Smith reveal? Is there really something happening behind the scenes? And why has this story sent WNBA fans into such a frenzy? Let's jump straight into today's video and break it all down. You should sit down, lock the doors, and get ready if you believe that the WNBA has already reached its lowest point. Because what transpired on national television this morning officially destroyed the entire basis of professional women's basketball, not just the internet. The harm has already been done, but the mainstream media is already in a complete state of panic as they try to remove the footage. We are no longer dealing with a straightforward altercation in the locker room or a contentious foul. A full-scale, pure civil war is taking place right now. The biggest names in the sport are among the fatalities. Rumors of a covert emergency meeting by WNBA team owners have been circulating for the past 48 hours. However, until Stephen A. Smith entered the first take set, stared straight into the main camera, and dropped the equivalent of a nuclear bomb on live television, no one was aware of the awful reality of what was discussed behind those closed doors. He did more than merely reveal a scandal. He revealed a sinister group of millionaires were deliberately attempting to ruin a player's life. A fan favorite, and one of the league's most vocal voices, Sophie Cunningham, is today facing an immediate, permanent, and wholly unwarranted ban from the WNBA. And WNBA Commissioner Kathy Angelbear didn't even attempt to resolve the situation because it was so disastrous and the repercussions were so poisonous. Rather, she took a completely unimaginable action. She literally left the league after packing up her office and raising her hands in the air. The WNBA is in ruins, and I'm going to show you the precise smoking gun that ignited the fire today. If you appreciate this content, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 62% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's free and only takes a second, but it means the world to us. So, did you subscribe already? Great. Thank you so much for your support. Now, back to the video.
Don't believe Sophie Cunningham will be with the Fever next year. I said this before. I didn't think she was going to be there this year because of the bad press. Now, everything that Sophie Cunningham did this year put the Indiana Fever and the entire league on notice. I'm sticking by it. I think they're going to try to Colin Kaepernick her, bro. I really do. It goes on to say the 30-year-old guard who joined the Fever in 2025 after 6 years with the Phoenix Mercury signed a one-year deal for 2026 that ends soon, fueling speculation about her exit. Her summer ESPN comments wanting to protect young girls from competing against biological men, which she called common sense, drew cheers from spectators and boos at games. Backers highlights her three-point shooting, enforcer style, and broad apparel, arguing the WNBA needs her more than she needs it amid rumors tied to her views. Yes, Sophie Cunningham, whether they like this or not,
we must examine Stephen A. Smith, the guy who ultimately pulled the trigger, in order to comprehend this complete carnage. Let's be really honest now. Stephen A. has been treading carefully and hypocritically for weeks. Smith was taking sides in the verbal spat between the WNBA and former NBA player Enes Kanter. Kanter was calling out the obvious hypocrisy of the front office, exposing the league's extreme double standards and demanding responsibility. Stephen A. attempted to act like a diplomat. He attempted to appease the WNBA fans while simultaneously defending his relationships with WNBA management. He was engaging in risky political behavior. However, the tightrope eventually broke yesterday. A grave error was committed by someone in the WNBA's front office. They gave Stephen A. Smith's production crew immediate access to a highly confidential internal audio memo. Stephen A.'s entire attitude altered when he learned of the owner's covert plans to harm Sophie Cunningham. Throughout the show, you could see the utter contempt on his face. He came to the conclusion that he could no longer play both sides because the owner's actions were not just unfair, but also blatantly wicked. Stephen A. Smith became a total outlaw. The producers were yelling in his earpiece, but he ignored them. The ad breaks went unnoticed by him, and he launched into a scorched earth tirade that totally destroyed the WNBA's phony togetherness. What specifically did Sophie Cunningham do to make herself the target? In contemporary athletics, she committed the ultimate transgression. She spoke the whole unadulterated truth. Sophie Cunningham dropped a huge, indisputable bombshell about the inner workings of the WNBA, while the rest of the league was busy caving into corporate sponsors and acting as though nothing was wrong. She made the financial manipulation public. She criticized the bias officiating that gives preference to certain players who are protected. Most significantly, she demonstrated that the players themselves were totally fed up with the league's poisonous dictatorship by openly endorsing the harsh reality that Enes Kanter was advocating. The proprietors of the WNBA fell into a terrible blind hatred. They came to see Sophie Cunningham as more than a mere athlete. For the supporters, she was turning into a martyr. She was turning into a rebellious voice. Furthermore, billionaires dislike uprisings.
T-shirts during overtime and told us we had to leave.
And this is for the girl.
Or cover our shirts. This just happened.
It's crazy, right? It's totally crazy. That's the mother and daughter team that just the other day were kicked out of the game in Atlanta. It turns out they paid like $1,000 for their tickets, which everybody was like, oh my God, $1,000 for a WNBA ticket? Like that in and of itself is shocking. And then they get kicked out because they're wearing XX and XY. Just like Kanter was kicked out of the game last night because he was wearing a woman and what she is, the definition of a woman. And it's so funny to me. It's so weird that this is becoming such a big thing. Like, honestly, you really have to make that big a deal of it? Apparently they do. There is a school of thought there that is like uber progressive and uber crazy in the athletic world and embodied by so many of these people that are in the WNBA. And they don't like what Sophie represents for a whole lot of reasons, right? Same thing with Caitlin Clark. You know the drill on that. And then you get, the Megan Rapinoe's of the world even, that feel so inclined to weigh in on this too. Like, Megan, really? Didn't you play like a bunch of 15-year-old boys and they whipped your you-know-what pretty darn fast? Like, you can't play against men, Megan. Like, what are you thinking?
Stephen A. Smith waved on live television. According to the records that were disclosed, an emergency, off-the-books conference call was organized by a group of the most influential WNBA owners. Finding Sophie was not their goal. She wasn't going to be suspended for a couple games. Their stated objective was to discover a legal way to quickly suspend Sophie Cunningham from the league in order to send a terrible message to the rest of the locker room. They intended to revoke her contract, nullify her sponsorships, and publicly humiliate her. We will completely delete your existence if you criticize the cartel. Stephen A. was yelling into the microphone. Owners in this league are behaving like members of the mafia. Executives are secretly planning to destroy a young woman's career because she dared to voice her opinions. A basketball league is not what you desire. A religion of silence is what you desire. The exposure was unprecedented, terrible, and unadulterated. You expect the league commissioner to take the podium, take the heat, and pledge to conduct a thorough investigation when a scandal of this size makes headlines. However, none of that was done by Kathy Engelbert.
I'm a female and I want to participate in the NBA. According to the letter of the language of the law, you can actually get away with it. And that needs to be clarified. Clearly, that's a political position to take. And I think on one hand, Enes Kanter was very wrong. It was a classless thing for him to do.
Well, I don't even think it's a political issue. That's the craziest part. It's not a political issue. It's a common sense issue. The WNBA, they maybe have turned it into a political issue because they refuse to use basic logic and anatomy. But it's not really a political issue. Or it shouldn't at least be a political issue. Maybe that's a better way to put it. It shouldn't be a political issue because it's common sense. But it's a political issue because those who are delusional have been catered to for far too long. To now they're believing their own delusions, and common sense needs to step in every now and then and just smack you over the head.
Because it's not, the ladies that are playing don't have anything to do with this. The league does. Its collective bargaining agreement may be the case. The liberal tilt that it has might be a cause or a cause effect to some degree. I get all of that, but the actual ladies that are involved, they have nothing to do with this, and they don't deserve to be agitated the way he clearly was willing to do in attendance at the game. It wasn't just about him standing, but he was just about to step to her. You got no business doing that.
He was just about to step to. You don't believe that, Stephen A., do you? You don't believe that, Stephen A. She ran across the entire court. She went from one side of the court to the other side of the court to get into his face. You don't believe he was going to step on the court, do you?
The fans' reaction to Stephen A. Smith airing the dirty laundry was immediate and devastating. Social media was overrun by millions of fans who threatened complete boycotts. Sponsors began to retreat nervously. The pressure cooker blew up. The owners had completely gone rogue behind her back. Engelbert realized she became aware that she was holding a bucket with a hole in it while standing on the deck of a sinking ship. What then did the WNBA's leader do? She gave herself up. Late yesterday night, there were rumors that an enraged Kathy Engelbert stormed into a Board of Governors meeting, smashed her keys on the table, and declared she was leaving. She refused to serve as a public target for a gang of spiteful, unruly team owners who were deliberately attempting to destroy Sophie Cunningham's life.
She she sprints down across the other side of the court, barking at him, losing her mind. She needs a sedative.
Deserve that. Not the ladies actually playing. They don't deserve that. And all of us, as American citizens, as human beings, find ourselves caught up in a political system that has purview and dominion over us as citizens of a society. If anybody knows that, it's Enos Cancer Freedom, because of his history with Turkey.
So you think he'd understand the importance of speaking out, huh, Stephen A. Right? Right, Stephen A. You'd think he'd understand the importance of going through this whole entire song and dance so we don't get to a level that he thinks that we could possibly get to. You think he'd understand that, wouldn't you, Stephen A., right? You'd say he's an expert in this, has some experience, been down this road before, understands the song and dance. Gotcha.
That's where he's from. That's where his family is from. This man was in fear of his life. I interviewed him. I heard his story. And the courage that he showed in speaking out against the Turkish government, against China, and putting himself in that lion's den. Because of his past political history, he should be applauded. Not to mention the fact that taking a political position is consistent with who he has been. Perfectly understandable. Got it.
Oh, so this is nothing new, you're saying? So your issue is just that it happened in the WNBA? What exactly is your issue, Stephen A? Like you're doing a lot of complaining right now, but what exactly is your issue? The fact that he showed up to the game? Is that your issue? The fact that he was wearing a t-shirt? Is that the problem? You want him to take his shirt off, Stephen A? What's your problem?
Give that some thought. The Women's National Basketball Association's commissioner physically resigned in the middle of the season because she could no longer stand the corruption and internal sabotage. There is presently no leadership at all in the league. There's a completely unheard of power vacuum. Officially, the asylum is run by the prisoners. This is no longer merely a basketball tale. This is a big corporate scandal. The fans are incredibly irate, and understandably so. For years, the WNBA has preached about empowerment, about safeguarding their athletes, and about standing up for what is right. But the second a player like Sophie Cunningham actually steps up and speaks her views, the owners create a mysterious firing squad to permanently ban her from the sport. Stephen A. Smith ultimately chose a side, and in doing so, he completely demolished the WNBA's carefully created facade, and Cantor has been vindicated. Sophie Cunningham is currently sitting in absolute limbo, waiting to see if these rich owners will truly succeed in tearing up her contract, and the league headquarters is absolutely empty because the commissioner decided to go away rather than face the music. The WNBA is confronting an existential crisis. If they ban Sophie Cunningham, millions of fans will never watch another game.